right, so we're going to be creating this beautiful little dandelion field. Again, you can use whatever kind of paper you would like. This is actually just a regular paper. I have a little canvas paper here. You will need your handy dandy flat brush, and you will need some type of a little liner brush to do the little petals of the dandelions. You will only be using blue, yellow, and white paint today because you're going to be creating your own colors today. So the very first thing we're going to do is we want to create that beautiful little sunset. So we're going to do a smiley face. And we did this last time when we did our clouds and our ocean. We're going to create the smiley face. But first I want a really bright yellow. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of my yellow and I'm going to add some white to that. So I want a really bright yellow right here in the middle because this is where my sun is going to be. So I'm going to do a little bright yellow and I'm going to do smiley face strokes. My brush is still a little dirty, but that's okay. All right, now I can go ahead and pick up some yellow. You want to start probably about midway. Look at these little smiley face strokes. Perfect. You want to add some more white. You can also mix it on the paper as well. Maybe I want to put really bright right here in the center where my sun. And I'm going to do these really pretty little strokes. All right, so now I'm going to clean my brush off and I'm going to create a beautiful light blue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean my brush off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a little bit of white over and a little bit of blue. You want a little tiny bit of blue. And you're going to get this beautiful, beautiful bright baby blue. And I'm going to go a little bit above that yellow. I'm not going to go right into that yellow. I want to go a little bit above it. I want to get my brush nice and kind of scratchy to where I don't have as much paint on it, and then I can kind of pull that down into my yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of water on my brush. I am going to just kind of sweep that across. I'm going to blend that out. I'm going to pick up some more water and I'm just going to pull that on down, just like that blue is kind of melting down into that sky. Beautiful, down in that really bright part. All right, and now I'm going to add a little more blue, dark, excuse me, dark blue to that light blue. I want a little bit darker blue up at the top. So I'm going to make that a little bit darker. And again, I'm going to go a little bit above it. I'm going to make sure my brush is kind of scratchy. Then I can start pulling that blue down into that light blue. I'm going to get water, a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm just going to start pulling that blue down. And you want this to look really nice and blendy. And adding water to your brush is a nice way to do that too. I'm going to kind of wipe that off. And maybe I want to pick up a little more of this bright yellow. And I just want to go right in here. Maybe we got some clouds going on up there. And I'm going to pull that yellow up into that blue. And that just makes it look where it just kind of melts into the top of that sky. Beautiful. All right, so now we're going to mix up some green. So what I'm going to do is I just kind of cleaned my brush. You probably don't have to because we need all of those colors for green. We're going to pick up, actually where I made that blue is fine. I'm going to add some yellow to that. So I want a nice bright, maybe I want to pick up some of that really light yellow that I made too. I want a really nice light green. Maybe I want a little more blue. Perfect. And now I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to go below that yellow. I don't want to really go into that yellow with all this wet paint. I want to do that little smiley face. Perfect. I'm going to wet my brush. And I'm just going to kind of go up, and that's okay. We're going to make that look like grass on a hill. So that's okay. We just want this little smiley face. And maybe I want a little bit darker green down here at the bottom. I'm going to add some more blue to that. Maybe I want a darker. Maybe I want a little more yellow in here. Make that a little more green. And you want those different values of green. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to cover the white, and then once my brush is kind of scratchy, and a little tip, I actually tape the bottom of my paper down so that I don't keep scooting my paper around. So if you want to do that, you can. Now I'm going to pull that green up into that light green. Beautiful. And again, if you need to put some water on your brush to help blend some of those colors, you can do that too. I'm just going to add some yellow in some of these places down here. You can mix the colors on your paper as well. All right, I want to add some more yellow just in some of these places. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to make our stems to our little dandelions. What we're going to do, I want you to pretend when we do these stems actually get smaller at the top. And I kind of want a dark green for this. So I'm going to add some more blue in here. And I'm going to take the tip of my flat brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'll press kind of hard. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like I'm in a race car, and I'm going to vroom right off the paper. Vroom really fast. Watch. I'm going to kind of stick it really hard, but then I'm going to off the paper. Off the paper. Just like that. You want it really skinny at the top. Do you see how I'm just kind of flicking it up? So maybe I want one there. And maybe I want, again, you want to make sure that it gets, you're going up off the page like a race car, up. You want it really, really skinny at the top. Just like that. That's perfect. Maybe I want to get a little bit more paint. Maybe I want one going this way. I'm going to do it really hard at the bottom, but then I'm going to do like a race car up off the page. Very, very lightly. Very, very, very skinny. Perfect. All right, then I'm going to put some grass around this. Before I do my dandelions, I'm going to actually, I think I want some lighter color green. So I'm going to come over here to my yellow. I didn't even clean my brush. I'm mixing more yellow to make a lighter green. And I'm just going to, again, I'm going to do little sweeps up, but I want to make sure that I go up off, like I'm going up off the page, really, really like wispy up. You want it really, really small at the top. And just kind of play around with it. Ooh, I like those different values of green on there. And I'm just going to do little wispy grass. I'm just going to give it some texture. And you want your grass to go in different directions. Look how I'm getting it really small up there. I didn't even put a lot of paint on my brush. I'm going to make it really small at the tippy top, and it kind of makes it look soft. All right, so now I want to add a different value of green in there. I think I'm going to add a little bit of white. I want this really light green. And you get to kind of experiment with different mixing your colors. So now I want some lighter grass in here. Ooh, it's going to be really bright where the sun is here. Look how I'm just taking my brush. It's on its tippy toes. And I'm just different directions. Love it. You just wisping it up. Just kind of practice and play with it. You want them really skinny at the top, and you want them to make sure that you're going in different directions. Perfect. And maybe I want a really dark green in here, so I'm going to add some more blue. I'm going to make a really dark green. Add some depth in there. Ooh, now it's really looking like a field of grass. You usually want at least 3 values. You want a medium, a light, and a dark. I'm going to add some more dark over here. All right, so now the fun part, we're going to make our little dandelions. So what I'm going to do, using my flat brush, actually I'm going to go to my liner. That might be a little easier. We're going to dip in our yellow. And you're not going to go right to the end of the stem. Those little dandelions actually, they're way up off of that stem. What we're going to do is we're going to make almost like a little half moon. Okay, and I've got one here. Maybe I want this one, yeah, I'm going to do a little half moon or a little football shape. And again, I'm going to put it way up here. I don't want it right on that stem. You can if you want to. All right, so now I'm going to take some of this dark green. You want like a dark green, and you're just going to add like this little strip on the bottom. Just at the bottom of that little, just giving it a little, making it more interesting. All right, I'm going to clean my brush really good. Really, really good. And I'm going to dip it into the white. And you want to make sure that you're going to make a circle around. And I think I want this one open because I actually want to pretend this one I'm going to blow on this one. So I'm going to leave that open. And you're just going to go around it. You want to leave all that space. You want to leave a little bit of space in there. Those little dandelions are really, really bright around the edges, way on the edges. And I'm going to leave that open. And you're just going to tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to make a little circle around it. And I'm tap, 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 tapping. And you want it really, really bright around the edges. You just want a few in there around that little football shape. They're going to be really, really white around the edges. That's where they like to cluster. And again, I'm going to go around, make a circle, and then I'm just going to do another little layer around that. And then I'll just put a little bit in there. I really want it to be really bright and puffy around the edges. All right, on the one you left open, what you're going to do is you're just going to do like a little, but we want it to make it look like they're going away. So I'm going to add another layer here, and it's going to almost go to a little point because those far away, we can't see all of those. You want them smaller as they go away. Beautiful. And I'm going to take this white and I'm going to give my little stem a little highlight. So if you want to give your little stems, maybe some of this grass, you want to give it some highlights, you can do that. Maybe some of this grass, you want to take your white and just kind of give this grass some highlights where that sun's going down. It's going to really be bright on some of this grass. And then I'm going to take my brush and right on the ends, where at the end of that little meadow, I'm going to dip into some green, some light green. I want some light green. And I'm just going to pretend like I'm just going to tap, tap, tap my brush to make it look like we've got some grass growing at the end of that meadow. And then maybe I want to dip my brush in some of this dark green, my little thin brush, and maybe I want to make some thinner grass. Maybe I want it kind of dark. I want more of like a blue color at the bottom. Now we're adding some depth in there. It's going to be darker along the edges. Right in there, there's going to be lots of shadow, and I'm just flicking my brush up. That's all I'm doing. Flicking it up. Flick it up. That's what I love about nature. It's so random. You can't really go wrong. All right. And you should have something that looks about like this. I hope you had fun.